Thank you for tuning in to Entertain the Geeky, your source for nerd news.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Jason back at you with more nerd news. So this week was not a huge news week, but there were a few things that popped up that were really interesting. So we're gonna go through in no particular order a couple of things that just kind of caught my eye as the week went on. So way back in 1996, and if you were reading comics in 1996, this was the third volume of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. Came out in 1996 from Image Comics. It was written by Gary Carlson with art by Frank Fosco, and it was a more adult take on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles source material. At the time, everybody had really kind of had the cartoon in their mind, and so the image of what the Turtles were as a storytelling device was the cartoony kind of kid-friendly versions. When the origins of the Turtles are much darker than that. I mean, they are ninjas. They carry weapons. They use those weapons, and so Volume 3 came along at a time when most people weren't really interested in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story that was adult. And it only ran for 23 issues. It ran from 96 to 99. I actually have all 23 issues in my collection. It was actually a pretty fantastic run. But it's mostly been forgotten. Over the years, though, it has developed a fan base that has been vocal about how good it was and wish they could have seen it finished, which is kind of rushed to its conclusion. It didn't really get a chance to kind of properly develop its narrative. But good news coming out of IDW Comics, they've had the TMNT license for a while now, and their book, still written by Kevin Eastman, is fantastic. And if you're not checking it out, it's really worth a look. It's some of the best TMNT stuff I think that's ever been written in a comic. But they are going to use this. Apparently, they're going to use this license to capitalize on the fan base of the Image Comics adult runs of TMNT, and they've gotten Gary Carlson back and Frank Fosco back, and they are going to allow them to finish this Volume 3 under their banner. So they're going to re-release all the original 23 issues in color for the first time ever. And then let the writer and artist kind of go on with their tale and finish it out the way it was intended to be finished out. So if you were like me and you read this TMNT run, this is big news. Being able to see it kind of finally finished, and even though it's not going to be within current Turtles continuity, they've actually retitled it TMNT Urban Legends to kind of separate it from their continuity. But it will be interesting to see, if Turtle fans of today latch onto it, because there's a whole new fan base that the IDW comic has brought in that might not have been reading TMNT comics back in the day, or might have been too young to be reading TMNT comics back in the day. So it'll be interesting to see, if something like this can still draw in fans. I personally think it's great, and obviously it has a dedicated fan base that also agrees. So I applaud IDW. I mean, they've been doing great things with the TMNT license. They've been doing crossovers with D.C. with their Batman TMNT stories that have been really fun and just kind of a fresh take on both sets of characters. So I'm in. I'm interested to see where this goes and what they've got in store for the true ending of their story. So, keeping with comics, on the Marvel side of things, news broke this week that Marvel is, going to be soon abandoning its Marvel legacy and its legacy numbering in favor of what they're calling a fresh start, which is kind of like a line-wide, I guess relaunch is probably the best way to say it, and honestly, just me personally, I'm getting tired of hearing those words from the big publishers. I just really don't understand why. I mean, at this point, every year, it seems like we have to relaunch and restart and bring out new number ones. And I guess I understand, right? It's a way to from a business standpoint, it's a way to capitalize on new readership and those kinds of things. But it really, it feels so soon to be doing something like this, so quickly after the Marvel Legacy relaunch started. Marvel Legacy wasn't really a relaunch; it was just a renumbering. It was taking books back to their classic numbering to show the legacy of Marvel Comics. It wasn't a relaunch, but it seems, right here as we were embracing the history of Marvel Comics, we're just going to say, no, we're done embracing that history, and we're going to do a bunch of number ones again, and we're going to make all the numbers back to the way they should be for their current volumes and things like that. And that's fine, I guess, if that's what you want to do. But I think as fans, I know me personally, and I know some other people that I've talked to, it comes down to, just kind of a gimmicky thing that, encourages me to spend more money, and that's fine. I enjoy the comics that I read, and I reject the things that I can't afford because I can't afford them. But it just all feels like a big gimmick to hook everybody, and I guess from a business standpoint, that's what they're going for. So in that regard, they've succeeded. But from, a fan's perspective that, like myself and others that I, friends that I have that are also fans, this just really becomes such a kind of a disenfranchising thing to come across almost every year, or at least every other year, that we're going to destroy everything and build anew. And it's just, for me as a fan, become something that I dread hearing about every time I see an article talking about this relaunch or that relaunch or whatever we're going to do. So what Fresh Start will be is yet to be seen. I mean, we do know that there's going to be a new Avengers book by Jason Aaron and Ed McGuinness, which is an interesting combo. I like Jason Aaron. I think he's a good writer. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to try to check out the things that they're doing or, find new books that I can enjoy. But I like the books I'm enjoying already. And if what this means is some of those books are going to be canceled or going to be relaunched entirely after, in some cases with the X-Men, new X-Men books, they're 20, 30 issues into their runs. I mean, it's we just got started again, and now we're going to start over. So we'll see. We'll see what this new line brings, if any of these books get to survive. I hope some of them do. I'll keep my fingers crossed. And we'll keep our ears to the ground here to entertain the geeky and try to keep you up to date on what Marvel Fresh Start is all about. Just a real quick thing, too, that came out of D.C. Apparently, D.C. is following Marvel's lead when it comes to previews, Diamond Previews catalog. And if you're unfamiliar, Diamond is the comic distributor for North America. And they pretty much have the monopoly on comic distribution in North America. I mean, there aren't competitors. They're too big. They have all the big contracts. And they release a catalog each month that talks about upcoming things, shows previews for them, gives pricing information. It's utilized as a tool for comic retailers to see the things that are coming, to adjust numbers accordingly based on new stuff or new content that's going to be showing up in the next few weeks or in the next few months. So it's definitely something that is a great tool not only for retailers but for fans alike. But Marvel has long used their own catalog. Yes, it is associated with Diamond. Yes, ordering is done for Marvel through Diamond, but they present their books separately. And apparently DC is going to follow suit with this, and they're going to start their own previews catalog, similar to how Marvel has done it. So the big two are now no longer going to be a part of the Diamond Previews catalog. We'll probably still continue to see their merchandise and things like that there, because a lot of Marvel's merchandise is still presented through Diamond. But as far as comics and trades and that kind of stuff goes, it looks like we're going to be seeing the DC stuff independently like we do Marvel. So we'll see how that goes. Turning to the video game side of things, the D.I.C.E Awards was this week, and if you're unfamiliar with the D.I.C.E Awards, D.I.C.E is Design, Innovate, Communicate, Entertain, and it's a convention that is held for video game executives in Las Vegas every year. They've been doing this since 2002, I think. 2001, 2002, somewhere in there, they've been doing this. And it's basically an award show where executives from the industry recognize the talent of the rest of their peers. So it's a big deal. I mean, it's and they held this award show, and no big surprise, the game that really, really shined this year for their awards was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Which we've talked about on the show before, that not only reinvigorated fans' love of Link and Zelda and their ongoing adventure, but also brought new gameplay elements to the table, changed up traditional gameplay elements in favor of kind of overhauling how the game is played. And it's just blown people's minds. I mean, it's one of those games that here we are still talking about it. And we had Mike on the show recently, and he had nothing but high praise for it as well. But so the full list you can find online, but I'm going to go through some of the big ones here. So Breath of the Wild is Game of the Year. It also won Outstanding Achievement in Game Direction, Outstanding Achievement in Game Design, and it also there was there was a fourth award it won. Adventure Game of the Year. So other games that cleaned up, Horizon Zero Dawn won a few awards for Outstanding Achievement in Story, Technical Achievement, PUBG, no surprise, Action Game of the Year. Got I think a couple other awards. Sports Game of the Year went to FIFA. PUBG also got that was it. Online achievement gameplay. Outstanding achievement in online gameplay, I think, is the category. So there was some interesting ones that really left their mark on players. Obviously, Legend of Zelda left its big mark. Mike talked about this on the show we recorded last week. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And it's a goofy little strategy simulation game, and it won. It won Strategy Simulation Game of the Year in its category. Role-playing Game of the Year went to Nier Automata, and Automata. I'm not really sure how to say that. I haven't played it yet. I've heard it's really great. Racing Game of the Year in a weird kind of, I guess this really just shows that the racing game category might not be as diverse as it used to be, because the winner of the racing game was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which they released for the Switch, which was just a updated version of Mario Kart 8 that had some new tracks and some new elements and some new racers and things like that. So I don't know what that says about other racing games. I guess people that develop racing games need to step up their game a little bit and try to compete a little more. Fighting Game of the Year went to Injustice 2. No big surprise there. That game has gotten huge praise. Action Game of the Year went to PUBG. PUBG, I say that because that's the thing. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the game's title. Super Mario Odyssey did receive an award, but it had nothing to do with gameplay. It received an award, an Outstanding Achievement Award for sound design, which I think is really interesting. Cuphead won a few awards. Obviously, people, huge fans of this game. A return to classic platformers, challenging. It won Outstanding Achievement in Original Music Composition, and it also won Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction and Outstanding Achievement in Animation. So that's just kind of some of the highlights from the award show. You can find the full list online pretty much anywhere. I found the list on PlayStationLifestyle.net. So yeah, I mean, you can find the list and look it up. But it was a good year for video games. Obviously, we've talked about that on the show before. And the D.I.C.E awards recognized the top games of the year. I mean, and I think it's no surprise to anyone that Legend of Zelda won the most awards, because it's being called like just the biggest breath of fresh air that a series has ever had. It reinvigorated fans' love of it. It brought in new fans alike, fans of different kind of genre games that are more open world, like Dark Souls. So it's just a fantastic game, and it really deserves a spot on your shelf. So turning over to the movie side of things, we got the announcement this week that Star Wars The Last Jedi is coming home. We're going to be able to watch it from the comfort of our couches. So it's arriving March 13th digitally, and then the 27th will be its wider Blu-ray 4K DVD release. And they've, so Lucasfilm and Disney, they have kind of listed some of the special features that will be included with the Blu-ray release. And I think some of them definitely seem very interesting. The big one is the director and the Jedi. It's a kind of a behind-the-scenes thing with Rian Johnson on what this movie meant to him, what it's like to have that job. Snoke and Mirrors was something that caught my eye, which is about the motion capture of Supreme Leader Snoke and what Andy Serkis went through. There's a couple of things that I think were great, just kind of cascading off of that. There is a couple of exclusive sequences from the movie featuring Andy Serkis on set before the CG turned him into Snoke. It's him on set doing the actual lines. So they're going to present some of those scenes without the special effects, which I think is going to be interesting because Serkis, I mean, if you're not familiar with his motion capture work, he is the motion capture guy in the world now. He's done Lord of the Rings, he's done King Kong, Planet of the Apes, Star Wars. I mean, his list goes on and on and on. And it's always interesting to see the performance that he gives, because it really makes you appreciate the actor that is Andy Serkis, because obviously most of the time his acting comes through a fake thing, a fake person, or an animal. So it's really interesting to see. The man is a performer, and even though he's not gonna be what audiences are gonna see, he still treats his job that way. So he emotes, and he's very scary and evocative. His presence on screen. So it's always interesting to see his kind of behind the scenes work with the motion capture stuff and what he brings to the table. Obviously, there's going to be audio commentary from Rian Johnson, deleted scenes. It'd be interesting to see some of the deleted scenes. He's talked about in interviews some of the things that he really regretted having to cut from the film in the final version of it. So it'd be interesting to see what he thinks is worth taking another look at. So, we only have a couple weeks still to wait before you'll at least be able to, go on to your PlayStation Network or your Xbox Live or whatever it might be and download Star Wars: The Last Jedi and watch it again. I know I'm looking forward to it very, very immensely because we only saw it the one time in theaters, and we're very much looking forward to seeing it again. So we will be picking it up, and I hope you will too. And it's impossible to, here we're, come to the close here. It's impossible to not talk about Black Panther, because we are in its first week, and it has just been shattering records all week. It had the largest opening weekend for the 4-day holiday weekend in February, beating out Deadpool. It obviously has had the largest week. It has taken the total profits for the MCU globally to $14 billion, which is a huge, huge number. I mean, this is just such a huge industry for them. And we just got word in the last couple of days too, or in the last day or two here, that it is now the best first week of any MCU film to date. So it has taken the top spot from Avengers for the best opening week of any MCU film to date. It has made $292 million in its first week, and that is not even including what will be the take for Saturday and Sunday for the weekend. Its first week alone, it's $292 million. That previous record was held by Avengers at $270 million in its first week. But it's just breaking all the records. I mean, and it's apropos that it's breaking all the records. It's a fantastic, fantastic film. It really just kind of shows us a section of the MCU that we've only dreamed of what it could be like. And guess what? Our dreams weren't imaginative enough. I mean, Wakanda is beautiful. It is an amazing place, and they have fully realized this technological marvel, this achievement from the comic world. They have fully realized it on screen. I applaud every single person that was involved in the picture. Ryan Coogler, obviously Chadwick Boseman, Lupita Nyong'o, everybody. I mean, everybody just delivers the top of their game performances and behind the scenes kind of production people. It's just a fantastic film, and if you haven't seen it, what are you doing with your life? Go see Black Panther. It's a cultural phenomenon, and I hope it represents a much needed change for Hollywood. To kind of go forward and look at movies in a different light. But that's going to bring us to the end for this week. Don't forget, tomorrow night we will be throwing up a new episode featuring Scott Sampson with his take on the events of Comics Pro, which is a convention, a retailer convention, where the publishers sit down with retailers and talk to them on a business level about what's coming and what they can expect and what they're going to be doing for them as retailers, delivering these products to the masses. So very much looking forward to sitting down and talking to him about that, and I hope you check it out. If you're digging what we're doing here, do me a favor, go on over to entertainthegeeky.com. We got all the content there. We got the articles, we got the Nerd News blurbs, we got both the shows, Entertain the Geeky and Nerd News. You can find all the back episodes. Check it out. And if you want to chat with me, and talk about what I talked about on the show today, get into a conversation, you can shoot me an email at etgnerdnews@gmail.com, or just leave me a comment. If you're finding this on Facebook, obviously there's great ways to engage there. Leave me a comment. I'd love to talk. I'd love to hear what you think of the show. So that's going to wrap things up for us. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at Entertainment Geeky, and on Twitter at Entertain Geeky. And until next time, guys, stay geeky.